Jin never thought he would end up like this. As a scientist who studied alien life forms on the spaceship Horizon *, he had met many strange creatures during his 5 years in space, but he never expected to be trapped in the incredibly long hair of an alien girl. The aliens were called Luminians. They came from a faraway galaxy called Andromeda. Luminians had skin that glowed and hair that could float and grow for their entire lives. They had come to the human space station Artemis 7 to talk about working together and sharing cultures. Jin's job was to teach them about human bodies and learn about Luminian bodies. Jin found Hana, the daughter of Ambassador Duri, very interesting. She was young for her people, about 20 in Earth years, but 60 in Luminian time. Her hair was silvery white with a soft purple glow. When she let it loose in low gravity, it stretched nearly 30 meters long. This hair was special to her culture and amazing to scientists. Each strand had tiny sensors that let Luminians feel things humans couldn't even imagine. The hair strands can sense energy fields, Jin had told his research team earlier. It's like a natural radar system that evolved to detect danger and weather on their home planet. What Jin didn't know was how dangerous those delicate-looking strands could be when disturbed. The problem happened during what should have been a simple demonstration. Hana had offered to show how Luminians used their hair to move in zero gravity. Jin, who was only 15 centimeters tall compared to the 3-meter-tall Luminians, watched from what he thought was a safe distance. Our hair works as both a sensor and a motor, Hana explained in her musical voice as she released her hair from its special container. Long ago, before we had technology, our ancestors used their hair to swing between the floating islands of our world. As her silver hair spread out in the low gravity of the observation deck, Jin watched in wonder. The strands moved with purpose, like thousands of tiny tentacles, each one reaching for surfaces and energy fields. Amazing, Jin whispered, stepping closer to look at the neural activity his tools were picking up. That's when the station's gravity suddenly changed. A small problem in the system that creates artificial gravity. The Luminians barely noticed because they were used to changing gravity. But Jin stumbled forward at exactly the wrong moment. Hana gasped as she felt something get caught in her hair, a strange presence that triggered defense systems evolved over thousands of years. Before either of them could do anything, her hair reacted automatically, wrapping around what it saw as a threat. In seconds, Jin found himself completely wrapped in a cocoon of living, reactive alien hair. "Don't move," Hana called out, sounding alarmed. "Our hair reacts to struggling. It will only get tighter." Jin froze, suddenly aware of his situation. He was completely at the mercy of an alien's living hair, unable to move and barely able to breathe. The silver strands pressed against him from all sides, their sensors picking up his racing heartbeat and panicked breathing. Ambassador Duri, Jin's boss, Captain Jun, said very carefully, "Perhaps your daughter could release our scientist." The ambassador's face showed no expression that humans could read. "I'm afraid it's not that simple, Captain. The neural response happens automatically. Trying to force your scientist out could hurt him badly." Jin could hear their voices through the wall of hair, but couldn't see anything. The strands gave off a soft purple glow, lighting up his unexpected prison with an otherworldly light. He could feel the hair sensing him, almost as if it was curious. "Jin," Hana's voice came through clearly, "you need to stay calm. My hair responds to emotions. Fear will make it squeeze tighter." Easy for her to say, Jin thought, trying hard to control his racing heart. He was trapped inside the living hair of a giant alien woman, completely at her mercy, and apparently at the mercy of her semi-independent hair as well. After an hour, the situation had not improved. Jin remained wrapped in Hana's glowing hair cocoon, though he had managed to calm himself enough that the painful squeezing had stopped. "I apologize for this situation," Hana's voice came through the strands. "This has never happened before." "It's not your fault," Jin replied, trying to sound professional despite his predicament. I should have been more careful about approaching the new life form. Captain Jun had called in the station's medical team and Luminian experts. They gathered around Hana, whose large pearly eyes showed concern. Her father, Ambassador Dury, spoke in low tones with the station's chief scientist. "Can you breathe properly?" Hana asked Jin. "Yes, the pressure has eased," he replied. "Actually, this is quite fascinating from a scientific perspective. I can feel your hair responding to my vital signs." Jin was not just being polite. Despite his uncomfortable situation, the scientist in him was genuinely interested. He could feel subtle movements in the hair strands as they adjusted to his breathing pattern. The hair seemed to be learning about him. The containment response is a defense mechanism, Ambassador Dury explained to Captain Jun. In ancient times, when small predators attacked Luminians, the hair would trap them until they could be safely released away from the body. "So how do we get him out?" Captain Jun asked, her patience wearing thin. "Normally, the hair will release the threat once it no longer perceives danger," the ambassador said. "But human biology is unknown to Hana's neural network. It doesn't know what safe looks like for your species." Jin heard this and felt a chill. "How long can this last?" he called out. There was an uncomfortable silence before Hana answered. "Without intervention, potentially days." Days. Jin couldn't stay trapped for days. He would need water, food, and bathroom breaks. Plus, the diplomatic meetings between humans and Luminians were supposed to start tomorrow. Having a human scientist trapped in an alien's hair would not set the right tone for peaceful relations. There must be a way to speed up the process, Jin said, trying to think logically. "Hana, can you consciously control your hair at all?" "To some extent," she replied. "But the defensive response overrides conscious control. It's like, how do you say it in human terms? A reflex." "Exactly like a reflex," Jin confirmed. "But humans can sometimes control reflexes with training or special techniques." Ambassador Dury cleared his throat. "There is one possibility. A neural synchronization might work." "Father," Hana exclaimed, her voice showing embarrassment. "What's a neural synchronization?" Captain Jun asked. "It's a deep connection between Luminian minds through their hair," the ambassador explained reluctantly. Hana could potentially synchronize with Jin's neural patterns and convince her hair that he is not a threat. "That sounds promising," Jin said hopefully. "It is also extremely intimate by our standards," Hana added, her voice quieter. "It is usually only done between life partners." Jin felt his face grow hot at the implication. "Oh, I see." Captain Jun sighed audibly. "Are there any other options?" "We could try sedating my daughter," Ambassador Dury suggested. "But that carries its own risks. The hair might constrict as a final defense before she loses consciousness." Jin didn't like the sound of that. "What exactly does the neural synchronization involve?" he asked. "I would connect my consciousness to yours through my hair," Hana explained. "It would let me feel what you feel and share thoughts. Then I could override the defensive response." "Would it hurt?" "No," she replied. "But it would be very personal. You would feel what I feel as well." As strange as it sounded, the neural synchronization seemed like the safest option. Jin took a deep breath, which made the hair strands shift around him. "I'm willing to try if you are," he said. Through the translucent wall of hair, Jin could see the blurry outline of Hana as she considered his words. Finally, she nodded. "For science," she said with what sounded like a nervous laugh. As the observation deck was cleared of everyone except medical staff, Jin found himself in the most unique first contact situation in human history, about to experience direct mental connection with an alien species through the very hair that had trapped him. Little did he know that this strange encounter would lead to discoveries that would change the future of both humans and Luminians forever. The room fell quiet as everyone except the medical team left. Jin remained wrapped in Hana's glowing hair, his heart beating faster as he thought about the neural synchronization they were about to try. "Are you ready?" Hannah asked softly. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jin replied. "What should I do?" "Just relax your mind," she said. "Try not to resist when you feel me connecting with you." Jin took deep breaths to calm himself. Around him, Hannah's hair began to pulse with a brighter purple light. He felt a strange tingling sensation where the strands touched his skin. "I'm beginning now," Hannah warned. Suddenly, Jin felt a gentle pressure in his head, like someone was carefully knocking on a door to his mind. It didn't hurt, but it felt very strange. Following Hannah's advice, he tried not to fight the feeling. Then, like a dam breaking, his mind was flooded with new sensations. He could feel the space station in ways he never had before. He sensed tiny changes in temperature, air movement, and even small electromagnetic fields from the equipment in the room. This is how you see the world?" Jin asked in wonder. "Yes," Hannah's voice echoed both in his ears and somehow inside his mind. "Our hair lets us sense things your human body cannot." Jin was amazed. Through their connection, he could feel what it was like to be a Luminian. He sensed Hannah's embarrassment about the situation, but also her scientific curiosity that matched his own. "I can feel your emotions," Jin said, surprised. "And I can feel yours," Hannah replied. "You're not afraid anymore. You're excited, curious." "Yes," Jin admitted. "This is incredible. No human has ever experienced how another species perceives the world." As their minds connected more deeply, Jin began to understand how Hannah's hair worked. The neural network in each strand was amazingly complex, with thousands of tiny connections that acted like a second brain. The hair didn't just sense things, it thought in its own simple way. "I think I can communicate with your hair now," Jin said. "I can help it understand I'm not a threat." Together, Jin and Hannah focused on sending calming signals to her defensive hair system. Jin projected feelings of peace and friendship, while Hannah used her conscious control to override the automatic defense. Slowly, the hair cocoon began to loosen around Jin. Strands unwound and pulled back, though some still gently wrapped around his arms and legs as if reluctant to let go completely. "It's working," Captain Jun called from nearby. As the last strands unwrapped, Jin became visible again. He carefully moved his stiff limbs, grateful to be free. But as the physical connection weakened, he felt a strange sadness at losing the mental link with Hannah. "We did it," Hannah said with a smile, her large pearly eyes shining with relief. To everyone's surprise, a few strands of her hair still reached out to touch Jin's hand, as if wanting to maintain some connection. "That's unusual," Ambassador Dury commented, his own contained hair shifting with what Jin now recognized as a sign of interest. "The hair normally withdraws completely after a threat is gone." Dr. May, the human medical officer, scanned Jin with her devices. "Your neural patterns show unusual activity," she said with concern. "How do you feel?" "Different," Jin admitted. "I can still sense things." He turned to look at Hannah and realized he could still faintly feel her emotions, even though most of her hair had withdrawn. A thin, almost invisible connection remained between them. "The synchronization didn't fully break," Hannah said with surprise. "This has never happened before." Ambassador Dury moved closer, his expression serious. "This is unprecedented. Normally, neural connections end when physical contact stops." Captain Jun looked worried. "Is this dangerous for either of them?" "I don't think so," Jin said. "It feels natural somehow." Dr. May continued scanning both Jin and Hannah. "Their brain waves are partially synchronized," she reported. "It's as if their minds are still talking to each other." Jin and Hannah looked at each other, sharing an understanding that went beyond words. Through their remaining connection, Jin sensed something important, something Hannah was trying to hide. "There's another reason you came to our station," Jin said suddenly. "Something you haven't told us." Hannah's eyes widened, and her hair swirled in patterns that Jin now recognized as showing alarm. "Jin," she warned mentally, the words appearing in his mind rather than being spoken. "It's okay," Jin said aloud. "I think they need to know." Ambassador Dury stepped forward. "Daughter, what is happening?" Hana sighed, her hair settling into resigned patterns. "The neural connection has revealed more than we planned. Jin has sensed our real purpose here." Captain Jun crossed her arms. "And what exactly is that purpose?" Jin spoke before Hana could. "They need our help. There's a dangerous space phenomenon coming toward their home system. A strange radiation that their hair can detect long before our instruments could see it." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. "Is this true?" Captain Jun asked the ambassador. Ambassador Dury nodded slowly. "Yes. We call it the Bright Death. It's a form of stellar radiation that affects neural tissue first. Our people with the longest and most sensitive hair detected it 3 years ago. It will reach our home system in less than 2 years. And you didn't think to mention this during our preliminary talks." Captain Jun's voice was sharp with suspicion. "We needed to establish trust first," the ambassador explained. "Many human stories show your people fear aliens who come asking for help. You often suspect hidden motives." Jin could feel Hana's worry through their connection. "They're not trying to trick us," he told Captain Jun. "They're genuinely afraid. This radiation doesn't affect human biology as severely, but their neural hair makes them extremely vulnerable." Dr. Mai looked thoughtful. "That's why the connection between you two didn't break. The shared neural pathway created something new, something that might help us understand this radiation." Jin realized she was right. Through his connection with Hana, he could see the radiation in a way no human instrument could detect. At the same time, his human mind offered a different perspective that Hana's people lacked. "We need to work together," Jin said firmly. "Our human technology combined with Luminian neural sensitivity could create something new, a way to detect and maybe even block this radiation." Hana's hair brightened at his words, the purple glow intensifying with hope. "Jin is right. Neither of our species can solve this alone. But together, we might have a chance." Captain Jun still looked suspicious, but Jin could see she was thinking it through. "How long until this radiation reaches human space?" she asked. "About 6 years after it hits our system," Ambassador Dury replied. "Time enough for you to prepare if you can see it coming. But our people will face it first." Jin felt a surge of determination through his link with Hana. Their accidental connection had revealed a threat, but it had also shown a path forward. "Captain," Jin said, "I request permission to form a joint research team with the Luminians. Our connection gives us a unique advantage in studying this phenomenon." After a long moment, Captain Jun nodded. "Granted. But I want daily reports and full transparency from now on." As the meeting broke up into urgent planning sessions, Jin stayed near Hana, their unusual bond a comfort to both. Through her hair, which now gently wrapped around his wrist like a glowing bracelet, he felt her gratitude. "Thank you for understanding," she sent through their mental link. "Of course," Jin thought back. "But next time, maybe just ask for help directly instead of trapping me in your hair." Hana's mental laughter was like chimes in his mind. What had started as an embarrassing accident was now the foundation of something much bigger, a partnership that might save both their worlds. And as several strands of her glowing hair remained wrapped gently around his hand, Jin wondered just how much more he would learn about the universe through the eyes and hair of his new alien friend. 3 months had passed since Jin became trapped in Hana's hair and formed their unexpected mental link. The space station was now busy with activity as humans and Luminians worked together to face the coming threat. Jin and Hana had become the center of this joint effort. Their unique connection allowed them to share ideas in ways no one else could. Through the thin strands of glowing hair that always stayed connected to Jin's wrist, they could send thoughts and feelings to each other instantly. "The latest sensor readings are strange," Jin said as he studied the screens in the new lab they had built. "The radiation pattern is changing." Hana stood nearby, her long hair flowing in the low gravity. Some strands reached toward the sensor equipment, gently touching the surfaces as if reading them. "I can feel it," she replied. "The bright death is speeding up. It's like it has a mind of its own." Dr. Mai entered the lab with new data tablets. "We finished the first prototype shield," she announced, "but we need to test it against real radiation samples." This was the problem they had been struggling with. They needed to test their shields against the bright death radiation, but it hadn't reached their part of space yet. The only warning they had came through Hannah and other Luminians who could sense it from far away with their neural hair. "I have an idea," Jin said, looking at Hannah. "What if we use our connection to make a map of the radiation that human computers can understand?" Hannah's hair brightened with interest. "You mean, translate what I can sense into data?" "Exactly," Jin said. "We've been trying to build sensors based on what you tell us, but what if instead we use you as the sensor?" Dr. Mai looked thoughtful. "It could work. We'd need to create an interface that can read the neural signals from Hannah's hair and convert them to data our computers can process." Jin felt excitement through his link with Hannah. "We could create a neural map of the bright death." Over the next few weeks, they worked day and night on the new system. Engineers built a special chair where Hannah could sit with her hair spread out and connected to sensitive equipment. Jin would sit in a matching chair nearby, their mental link serving as a bridge between Luminian senses and human technology. When they finally tested the system, the results amazed everyone. On the large screen, they could see a detailed map of the approaching radiation, something no human instrument had been able to detect before. "It's beautiful," Captain Jun said, looking at the swirling patterns of light on the screen. "And terrifying." The map showed the bright death clearly. It wasn't just random radiation. It had structure and patterns. It looked almost like a living thing, with a core of intense energy surrounded by reaching tendrils. "Now we can design our shields properly," Dr. Mai said. "We can see exactly what we're fighting." Ambassador Dury, who had been watching silently, stepped forward. "There is something not right about this radiation. In all our history, we have never seen anything like it." Jin felt Hannah's agreement through their link. "It doesn't behave like natural radiation," she said. "It's too organized." As they studied the map more carefully, Jin noticed something strange about the radiation's movement. "Look at how it changes direction," he said, pointing to the screen. "Natural phenomena don't turn like that." Captain Jun frowned. "Are you suggesting this is artificial? Made by someone?" The room fell silent as everyone considered this disturbing idea. If the bright death was created by someone, it might be a weapon, not a natural disaster. "We need more information," Jin decided. "Hannah, can we strengthen our connection to get a clearer picture?" Hannah looked uncertain. "We could try a deeper link, but it would be risky. No Luminian has ever maintained such a strong connection with another species before." "What kind of risk?" Dr. May asked with concern. "Our minds could become too mixed," Hannah explained. "We might lose track of which thoughts are Jin's and which are mine." Despite the danger, Jin felt they had no choice. "We need to know what we're facing," he said. "I'm willing to risk it if you are." Hannah's hair glowed brighter as she considered. Finally, she nodded. "For both our worlds." That evening, they prepared for the deeper connection. The medical team stood by with equipment to monitor their vital signs. Captain Jun and Ambassador Dury watched nervously as Jin and Hannah sat in their special chairs. "Ready?" Jin asked. "Ready," Hannah confirmed. More strands of her glowing hair reached out, wrapping gently around Jin's arms, shoulders, and head. Unlike the first time when he was trapped, this embrace was gentle and invited. Jin closed his eyes as the familiar pressure in his mind grew stronger. Then, like diving into deep water, his consciousness merged more fully with Hannah's. Their thoughts flowed together like two rivers joining. Jin could see through Hannah's senses completely now, feeling the world as a Luminian. Through this deeper connection, they focused together on the distant radiation. The map on the screen showed much more detail as their combined perception reached out across space. "There's something at the center," Jin/Hannah said, their voices somehow speaking in perfect unison. A structure. On the screen, the image zoomed in to show what looked like a massive machine at the heart of the radiation storm. It was clearly artificial, a construction of unknown technology generating the deadly energy. "It's a ship," they said together. "Or a station." Captain June leaned forward, her face pale. "Who built it? Why would anyone create such a thing?" Through their joined minds, Jin and Hannah pushed their perception even further, trying to understand the strange object. Suddenly, they felt a reaction, as if the thing had sensed them looking at it. "It knows we're watching," they gasped. The radiation patterns on the screen changed dramatically, some of the energy tendrils suddenly pointing directly toward the space station. It was like a predator that had spotted its prey. "Break the connection," Dr. May shouted as warning alarms began to sound. But Jin and Hannah were too deeply linked to pull apart quickly. Through their connection, they felt a cold alien presence reaching back toward them, following their mental link like a road. "It's scanning us," they said, their voices shaking. "Learning about us." Ambassador Dury rushed forward. "My daughter, you must separate now." With great effort, Jin and Hannah began to pull their minds apart. The process was painful, like tearing a single piece of cloth into two. As they separated, Jin could feel the alien presence trying to hold onto their connection. Finally, with a sensation like a rubber band snapping, their deep link broke. Jin fell back in his chair, gasping for breath. Nearby, Hannah's hair thrashed wildly as she also struggled to recover. "Are you okay?" Dr. May asked, scanning them both with medical devices. "Yes," Jin panted, "but we have a bigger problem now." Hannah nodded weakly, her hair settling down but still glowing brightly with alarm. "It saw us," she said, "and I don't think it was happy about being discovered." Captain June looked at the radiation map, which now showed energy moving clearly in their direction. "How long do we have before this thing reaches us?" "Less time than we thought," Jin said grimly. "It's changed course directly toward us. I'd say we have 3 months, maybe less." Ambassador Dury's normally calm face showed fear. "Can your people evacuate our homeworld in that time?" "Not everyone," Captain June admitted. "We don't have enough ships." Jin reached out to take Hannah's hand, feeling the comfort of their connection, even though they had pulled back from the deeper link. Together, they looked at the approaching threat on the screen. "We don't run," Jin said firmly. "We've seen what this thing is now. It's not just random radiation. It's a machine, a weapon. And if it was built, it can be stopped." Hannah's hair brightened with determination. "Jin is right. Now that we know what we're facing, we can find a way to fight it." As the others began urgent discussions about defenses and plans, Jin and Hannah shared a private thought through their link. Their accidental connection had discovered the truth about the Bright Death. Now they needed to find a way to use that same connection to save both their worlds. The question was, how do you fight something that can turn the very fabric of space into a weapon? 2 months had passed since Jin and Hannah discovered the truth about the Bright Death. The space station was now a center of frantic activity. Ships came and went constantly, bringing supplies and taking away people who needed to be safe. The strange machine causing the Bright Death was moving closer every day. They could now see it clearly through their special sensors. It looked like a giant metal spider with long legs made of energy. These energy legs sent out the harmful radiation that hurt Luminian neural systems. Human and Luminian scientists worked day and night to build shields against the radiation. They made good progress, but there was a problem. The shields could not stop all the radiation, and the machine seemed to learn and adapt, changing its attack whenever they found a defense. "We can't just keep defending," Jin said during an important meeting. "We need to attack it somehow." Captain June frowned. "Attack with what? Our weapons can't reach that far in space." Jin looked at Hannah, feeling her thoughts through their mental link. "We might not need physical weapons," he said slowly. "Hannah and I have an idea." All eyes turned to them. Over the past months, Their connection had grown stronger. They could now share complex thoughts easily through the strands of Hannah's hair that always stayed connected to Jin. The machine responds when we observe it mentally, Hannah explained. It can sense our neural connection when we look at it, which means it has its own kind of neural network, Jin continued. Something like Hannah's hair, but mechanical. Dr. Mai leaned forward with interest. Are you suggesting we could hack it? Like a computer? Not exactly, Jin said, but we think we could disrupt it. If a mental scan can be detected by it, maybe a stronger mental signal could confuse it. Ambassador Dury looked worried. You're talking about using your neural link as a weapon. That could be very dangerous for both of you. He was right to be concerned. Each time Jin and Hannah connected deeply, their minds became more intertwined. The medical team warned that another deep connection might permanently blend their consciousnesses. We understand the risk, Hannah said, her hair glowing with determination. But we see no other choice. Jin nodded in agreement. We need to build a special ship, he explained. One that can amplify our neural connection and send it like a signal toward the machine. Captain Jun didn't look happy, but she nodded. How long will it take to build this ship? 2 weeks, Dr. Mai said after some thought. We can modify one of our science vessels. Then we better get started, Captain Jun decided. The machine will reach our outer defense line in 3 weeks. The next 2 weeks were the busiest of Jin's life. He helped design the special ship while continuing to monitor the approaching threat. Through their link, he could feel Hannah's worry growing as her homeworld began emergency evacuations. Not everyone will make it out in time, she told him privately one night, her hair dim with sadness. Jin gently squeezed her hand. That's why we have to succeed, he said. We'll stop this thing. Finally, the day came to test their plan. The ship was ready, a small, fast vessel with a special room at its center. This room had 2 chairs surrounded by equipment designed to amplify neural signals. As Jin and Hannah prepared to board the ship, they said goodbye to their friends and colleagues. No one knew if they would return. The plan is simple, Jin explained one last time. We'll fly as close as we safely can to the machine. Then we'll establish our deepest neural connection yet and send a disruption signal to overload its systems. Like shouting loudly at someone who's trying to listen to quiet music, Dr. Mai said with a small smile. Exactly, Hannah agreed, her hair brightening briefly. Captain Jun stepped forward. You have 24 hours to complete your mission. After that, we'll assume it failed and proceed with the evacuation plan. With final nods, Jin and Hannah boarded their ship. As the engine started, Jin felt strangely calm. Whatever happened, he knew their connection had already changed both their species forever. The journey took 6 hours. As they approached the massive machine, they could see it clearly through the ship's windows. It was bigger than they expected, like a city floating in space, with swirling energy patterns all around it. It's beautiful, in a scary way, Jin said quietly. Hannah's hair reached out to touch his face gently. Are you ready? She asked. Jin nodded, and they moved to the special room at the center of the ship. They sat in their chairs and activated the amplification equipment. Around them, screens showed the machine getting closer. Remember, Jin said, once we connect, we need to focus all our thoughts on disrupting its systems. We picture our combined mental energy flowing out like a wave and crashing into it. Hannah's hair began to glow brighter as it reached out to wrap around Jin. Unlike the first time, when he had been trapped by accident, Jin now welcomed the embrace of her living hair. See you on the other side, Hannah said with a smile. As the hair wrapped completely around him, their minds began to join. This time, they didn't fight the merging. They let their thoughts flow together until it was hard to tell where Jin ended and Hannah began. Together, their combined consciousness reached out toward the machine. Through the amplifiers, their mental signal shot forward like a beam of light. When they touched the machine's systems, they felt its surprise. It hadn't expected to be approached this way. Jin/Hannah pushed harder. sending waves of disrupting thoughts into its neural network. The machine fought back. Strange, alien thoughts pushed against their minds, trying to break their connection. Pain shot through both of them as the machine tried to understand what they were. It's learning too fast, they fought together. We need something it can't understand. In that moment of crisis, Jin's human creativity melded with Hannah's Luminian intuition. Together, they did something unexpected. Instead of attacking, they opened themselves completely. They shared everything: human emotions, Luminian sensory experiences, memories, dreams, fears, and hopes. The flood of complex, contradictory, beautiful, and messy consciousness was too much for the machine's ordered systems. It was like pouring water into delicate electronics. The machine's neural network couldn't process the complexity of two different species' combined consciousness. On the screens around them, they could see the machine's energy patterns becoming chaotic. The spider-like legs of radiation began to flicker and fail. It's working. They thought together with joy. With one final push, they sent all their remaining mental energy toward the failing machine. There was a blinding flash as the machine's core overloaded and exploded. The ship's emergency systems activated, pulling them away from the explosion. As the automatic pilot took them to safety, Jin and Hannah remained connected, their minds still joined. We did it. They fought together, but now we have a problem. They couldn't separate. Their consciousness had merged too completely during the intense battle with the machine. They were now one mind in two bodies. When they returned to the space station as heroes, the medical team worked for days trying to separate them. But in the end, Jin and Hannah decided they preferred to stay connected. We're something new now, they explained to their worried friends. Not just human, not just Luminian, but both. In the years that followed, Jin and Hannah became the first of many human Luminian pairs who chose to share a neural link. Their unique connection had saved both their worlds and opened a new chapter in relations between the species. Sometimes, when asked if he regretted getting trapped in Hannah's hair that first day, Jin would smile and shake his head. Being at her mercy, he would say, "Turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me." And Hannah's hair would glow brightly in agreement, a few strands always wrapped gently around Jin's hand, a reminder of the accident that changed two worlds forever.